Good afternoon. My name is Richard Murray, and I am running for the unexpired term for Town Board that was created when Elizabeth Spinzia was elected as supervisor. I've lived in the Hudson Valley my entire life. I currently live over on Wurtemberg Road, just outside of the village of Rhinebeck. I've had my house for 12 years. I'm a small business owner. I have 2 children that attend Rhinebeck Public Schools, and my wife is an attorney who works for the New York State court system. I've been serving on the Rhinebeck Planning Board for about 4 years now. During that time, we have successfully overseen the implementation of the new comprehensive plan. Challenges were encountered and overcome. We've moved forward in many great ways, and we will continue to move forward, both as a planning board and with the help of the town board. I did spend a little time away from Dutchess County just prior to that 12 years when I came back and purchased my home. I was down just south of here working, but as soon as we had our daughter, who is now 11, we said, it's time. So we came home. Having grown up in Clinton Corners, just on the outskirts of Rhinebeck, I knew how valuable it was to come back here and where we would raise our family. My wife is from Milan, so this is home for us. Planning board. My past skill sets from a variety of circumstances in my life have aided me in the planning board and for many things in life, really. When I graduated college, Albany State, the job market was a little slow, kind of like it is now. So rather than sit back and wait for something to fall on my lap, I continued to do what I was doing while I went to college. I was swinging the hammer. I continued to do construction work. I ran a business for 7 or 8 years until something came along and I finally worked my way back into engineering and computer science. I was a math and computer science major, a geek, computer geek. During my time here in Rhinebeck, I've enjoyed getting to be part of the community, learning to be part of the community. I guess if you're not born here, you're never really a native Rhinebeckian, but I consider myself a native Rhinebeckian, not native Rhinebeckian, but native Dutchess County. To work my way in, I've managed to volunteer in different ways. Across the street from me, I have this beautiful park, Drayton Grant Park at Burger Hill. I volunteered as a steward many years ago now. I can't even remember how many. I think it's six years maybe. We don't do a lot of work, but it's important work because a group of maybe 40 people volunteer all year round to keep an eye on the place, to open and close it daily, in the rain and in the cold and in the snow. You trek out there in the morning early before anyone gets there. You open the gate, you make sure everything is okay. You come back at the end of the day because it's required that we close it up. Sometimes you even have to chase someone off the top of the mountain. That could be a hike. I also locally became involved a few years back with the American Cancer Society. Locally, they do a big event here every year called the Relay for Life. The fairgrounds are gracious enough to give us, they donate the track where we hold basically what is a weekend-long event. We walk the track for 24 hours to symbolize the unending battle against cancer. While we're doing this, a variety, maybe 50 teams participate. I think this past year, we had 55 teams, if I'm not mistaken. 55 teams come together for a common cause to raise money. And this year, I believe we raised about $250,000 as an overall team effort. Each team represents a business or a family. Most of them are families. People get involved because usually the loss of a loved one or possibly someone's sick. In my case, we formed Team Murray because I was a cancer survivor. And to pay it back, we decided this would be a nice way to participate. To date, over 6 years now, Team Murray alone has raised over $200,000. We've been recognized in the as a top 10 team, top 10 family team in the Northeast, which is a big honor for us. It's a pride thing. Again, something to be proud of, an accomplishment. In addition to our volunteer work with the American Cancer Society, my wife and I have this wonderful little 11-year-old that when she was 6, she showed an interest in soccer. Soccer seems to be getting very big these days. I'm very happy that she loves it. And my wife and I decided we would donate our time as coaches. We didn't really know what we were doing, but once you get into it, it just consumes you. You have these wonderful kids who are out there trying their best. Some of them are fantastic. Some of them need extra work. But regardless, as their coach, your job is to help them work together as a team, to rely on each other, to better each other in a way to help each other become better, not to best each other. They really have, some of them have just grown. 5 years now we've been doing this, and some of them have grown up to be these beautiful young ladies with the confidence that they didn't have 5 years ago. It's very rewarding for us. It's hard work. We practice 3 times a week and play a game. So the soccer families that are in our team, when it comes to the end of the season, they all sit there and go, "Oh, we made it. Thank God." But it's all about teamwork, family. We have a soccer family. And I say that about my team with 16 girls. The same goes for the other 8 or 10 teams that we have right here in the Rhinebeck area. They're all wonderful, wonderful teams. And run by a bunch of volunteers who get nothing out of it other than the gratitude they get from those kids. I have, in addition to the soccer, by default, we inherited the maintenance of all the fields and everything. It's, soccer is fun, but only if you have a nice field. So there's probably a good group of maybe 20 of us that, when need be, we grab weed whackers and chainsaws and paint and a hammer and nails, and we take care of the sheds, sometimes mowing the grass, striping the fields, getting them ready for games. It's one of those quiet things you do. It's actually a nice way to get out of the house on a Saturday morning when it's very quiet, and then you're down there all by yourself, walking along, striping the field. It can be very relaxing, but it's a lot of fun, and again, it's a pride thing. I've been asked more than once, why do I think this is so important, all of these activities, these volunteerism things that I do and many other people do in our community. Why? Because I think it makes our community what it is today. That's what makes it so attractive and why so many other people want to be part of this community. Volunteerism and our involvement in the community directly is vital in keeping the character of our community what it is today and what it has been for many, many years. If you feel the same way, please vote for me, Richard Murray, on November 4th. Thank you.
I'm Bill Dowden, former town supervisor of Rhinebeck, and I'm pleased to introduce today Richard Murray, who is the Republican candidate for Rhinebeck Town Board in the November 4th election.
Hello there. Hello, Bill. Thank you very much for that introduction. Yes, I'm Richard Murray, and I'm running for town board. I'm running for the unexpired term that Supervisor Spinzia created when she was elevated to the supervisor position a year ago. What can I tell you, Bill?
Richard, why don't you tell us a little bit about your computer and engineering background and how you could help the town today and how you help current clients that you have today?
Big question. Big question. It was a long, rocky road. After graduating with a mathematics computer science degree from SUNY Albany, I pretty much ran a construction company for 8 years, 7 years, 8 years. It's a blur now. While doing so, although it was paying my bills, it also taught me very valuable lessons in managing people, employees, dealing with customers, homeowners mostly. I did some commercial work, but most of it was homeowner, residential construction, additions. Unfortunately, I had to start out doing the nasty job of things like roofing, but part of life's lessons. I eventually made it out of that backbreaking type of work, and I found myself down in an engineering firm down in Westchester, White Plains, where I had the opportunity to put my computer skills to work and work on some of this new, at the time, cutting technology, which has all changed since then. But I networked all the machines, I installed software. I was basically the software geek in an engineering firm. So although I wasn't officially an engineer, I was a builder who was a software geek, and I made a nice fit there. We blended together nicely, and I filled a need, and they gave me an opportunity. From there, I made my way into Manhattan. A firm out of the blue one day, a friend said, "My father is looking for people who are interested in logistics work." I had no idea what logistics were, but I said, "Hey, it's computers. Yes, I'd like to talk to your father and see what he does." So it was the beginning of a great relationship where I met a gentleman, Tom Boyer, wonderful, wonderful man, who taught me everything he knew. Logistics, the company was a computer-based software provider. So what we did was we used computers to eliminate mundane daily tasks effectively. When you get your package in the mail from FedEx and it says delivered on your email, we do all of those kind of things. Pretty exciting for me at the time because now I was in the big world of computer programming. I've never looked back since then. That's what I've continued to do. I worked in that field down in Westchester and New York City for 15 years, 12 years, 15 years total. When I came back home to Rhinebeck, I decided I wasn't going to commute back and forth. It was too much. I had a little baby girl, and we decided I was going to work from home. It didn't float very well with the company I was working for. They wanted me there. They wanted me to manage people. I was managing 3 people at the time. They begged me to stay, and they wanted to give me a couple more people to manage, and I decided it was time for a change. And I loved Rhinebeck, and I loved my new house, even though it was an old, crooked house out on Württemberg Road. I decided I was going to stay here and work. So I quit and went to work for myself, opened up my business, which I am enjoying today. It was very scary, but here I am today. Today what I do is I work with large companies, large transportation companies, who come to me with a problem. We sit down, we discuss their issues and their needs. I sit down with their managers. I sit down with their operators, their workers, their billing system people, their IT group. We sit down, we discuss it, we figure out what it is we're looking for. We identify our goals. We identify the steps in the process we need to take, the path. We define that path with all of the people involved. We analyze it carefully. We identify the resources we have to work with, whether that be money or persons that will be involved in the implementation of this change. But certainly cost is always a factor when you're dealing with any kind of improvement. We budget appropriately. We set a timeline for these projects, and we implement them, period. It's often very gratifying to be able to come in ahead of time. It's very gratifying when you can come in ahead of time and keep it under budget. I find very often that we can pull that off, and they're so happy that we end up doing some extra stuff that we didn't even intend on doing in phase one or whatever we happen to be doing at the time.
Richard, I understand in 2013 the town received a sizable grant to improve technology within the town. Could you explain a process that if you were elected to the town board that you would try to implement that would improve the town website or email communications within the town?
Yes. Well, it's a big issue. Some of my clients, well, most of my clients now, honestly, have web-based interfaces. This is the go-to point for whether you're a government or you're a business or you're a homeowner, just somebody at home looking to figure. Everyone uses the web, so everything is graphical user interface oriented. Your email, your website, your download your documents, your forms that you want to fill out, everything's available on the web. So do we have a process? Yes. Similar to working with any client, if I were elected, one of my immediate goals would be to put a process in place where people can start step one and follow step two and step three and go through the process of implementing simple changes. Not earth-shattering changes, simple changes. Identify the need. Identify the costs. Identify the steps to implement that change. And do it. And do it. Sometimes it's just a matter of pulling the trigger and doing it. But you have to have a process. You can't have 6 different people approaching it in 6 different ways. We have to come together and have a plan. The website now, I was just looking at it the other day, and honestly I was trying to find the agenda for the town board meeting. And it was on the first page, but it was all the way down the bottom. And some of the stuff was posted in 2012 because it displays, like the newly adopted comprehensive plan, I think it was. It's no longer newly adopted after 4 years or 5 years. We can lose the new. There seems to be a lack of user accessibility to the website. There are many items that need to be updated. There needs to be, again, a system in place. I was chatting with a member of the Conservation Advisory Board the other day, and I was complaining to them. I shouldn't use that word, but I was. I was saying, look, I never even know when your meetings are. You never post anything. Nobody knows what you're going on. Were it not for the fact that I was on the planning board and I get an email giving me their minutes, I wouldn't have a clue as to what the Conservation Advisory Board is up to. And they stopped me and said, whoa, we try all the time. We post stuff all around town. And I said, well, that's ridiculous. Why would you just put it on? We don't have access to the web. I'm shocked. We received a lot of money last year. We had a lot of promises that we were going to have some real visibility into our government, some transparency. It was a big deal this time last year when there was a big check cut to this town. I was told recently that they don't even have the town email functioning properly. So no one uses it. No one uses it. They use their own personal email accounts to do town business. That's not okay. It's not okay. Somebody needs to go back to step one and identify that need and come up with those steps and move forward with it. We deserve that. We've been paid for that. That money's there. Let's do it. If I'm elected to the town board, I would like to begin by getting together with the board and with the technology committee and any other volunteer who would like to come in and give us their expertise, their opinion, their experience, and get something done with our communications, our town website. If you want to get something done, vote for me, please, on November 4th.
Richard, budgets and taxes are very important to citizens. Have you found areas in the proposed town budget that you would suggest the town board review?
I have, Bill. I was fortunate enough to be able to sit in on a couple of the budget review meetings. I believe they have a few more planned coming up next week. But they were able to go through most of the budget. And I must say, as a board member, when I'm a board member, I would encourage the board not to exceed the 2% tax cap that New York State has requested of all of our towns. I think it's important. I know a couple other board members agree with me. I know a couple other board members don't. I firmly believe that there's no need for, I believe it's a 6.3% tax hike right now. I think that's outrageous, and I think it means that we need to go back and perhaps visit some of the line items on our budget. I don't need to point out anything specific because it truly was, it applied to many of the line items. My approach would be slightly different. I would encourage the fellow board members to bring the line items down to their actual cost, or let me say, down to the maximum that they've spent in the past. If there's a line item in the budget that says $1,500 and they've only traditionally spent $1,200 over the last 5 years max, then there's no point in budgeting $1,500 on that. By doing this alone, you're going to cut a lot of the unnecessary numbers out of there. I mean, if you pad it, it looks great. You end up looking like you came in under budget, but it defeats the purpose of the budget. We're trying to budget our money here and decide where it's going to be. I believe we need to be fiscally prudent. One of the line items I saw, we're hiring a new clerk. I know it's been busy in the office. I guess the existing planning board / assistant town clerk will be full-time assistant town clerk. I know she has her hands full. I've worked with her over the last 4 years and the planning board. In addition to her making that move, an additional employee will be hired to take her place and her duties for the planning board. I say this because while we're bringing more people on to handle all of this work, we're also closing the offices. The town hall is closed earlier than it has been in the past, earlier than it ever has been. What does that mean? Well, the few people I've talked to get rather annoyed, especially towards the end of the day when they're trying to run in at the end of their workday and drop something off or pick something up or drop a form off, and it's closed. I don't see, maybe we need to rethink how the town hall is run. Maybe it's important for people to be able to focus on their work and not have constantly someone to attend to coming in the door, interrupting their work. I get that. I understand that. When the phone rings, I often am distracted and unable to focus on what it was I was working on. But let's go back and revisit the process. Let's visit the process as it currently is applied, how it's done, and fix it. Make it more comfortable. Make it easier for the employees and, most importantly, for the citizens of this town who are paying these bills. I would encourage the board to go back and review the highway budget items very thoroughly. This is our largest increase. Biggest example of this increase specifically in the highway budget is a new employee. A couple of years ago, we had an efficiency expert come in to Rhinebeck and analyze the highway department, and it was determined that they were top heavy with their labor. They didn't quite need all the labor that they have. So if you want to save some money, that's where it should be cut. So it was cut. It's not a fun thing. They eliminated a position. I'm sure that person did not appreciate that. I get that, but here we are. 2 years later, we're going to bring that position back. We're going to take on that long-term expense. Again, do we need it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what changed over the last 2 years. Why, if I brought that same efficiency expert back, I wouldn't get the same answer. But it needs to be reviewed. That's all. I think that we have the opportunity out there to potentially share some equipment. I know it's a tough subject to approach and get into, but between the village and the town, we do have duplicate equipment. Sooner or later, we're going to have to face this issue, and we're going to have to discuss it, and we're going to have to sit down. Everybody wants their own equipment. My equipment's better. My equipment's paid for. I need this equipment full time. I understand that. Everyone has their needs. But bottom line, when we're done working on this budget and approving it, it needs to make sense and it needs to be fair to the taxpayers. Bill?
And there are other opportunities to work with shared services, possibly through the village and also through the school district. There might be the use of a cooperative purchasing system.
There are many opportunities to share. Our comp plan encourages us to explore and share services between the village and the town, between the school system and the town. Very specifically, it says work with the school system so as not to duplicate recreational services. As an example, I believe currently the town purchases all the salt, and I think the village comes and picks up the salt when they need it, as needed basis, and I believe the school does as well. What a great start. I mean, what a great concept. We didn't have to build another salt shed for the village. We didn't have to build a salt shed for the school. Yet they have it all there. So you have a great example of cooperative purchases. Everybody saves. They buy it at a better rate. And we save money. The taxpayers save money. Very important. Again, going back, we can visit different ways. It's important that we just open the dialogue. We start that dialogue between these different municipalities and we explore what's possible. Until we do that, nothing will happen. We need to do that. I appreciate your time very much, and I appreciate the opportunity to present my view to you. I promise to work very hard for you if elected. Please come out. If you feel the same way, please come out and vote for me on November 4th. Richard Murray.